Hello, Dingus Gamers. We're here with the Ignis Purgatio, and the whole point of this video is for any of you who maybe missed out on the Warhammer 40k tanks, or this one particularly, and we're having a case of FOMO. Fear of missing out is not liked, no one wants to feel it, but as now you can't get this tank with Warhammer 40k part of the Gladiator season being over with now, you may be lamenting the fact that you think you have perceived the loss. The short answer to that for you is you haven't missed out on anything. While you may think the Ignis Purgatio is a hell of a tank, especially in platoons and in packs, you would be right, but so is BMP 1s, 2s, obviously Weasel Toes, and a lot of fast-moving, hard-hitting tanks like the RDF-LT. So you're not missing out, and please don't hate the fact that you may or may not have missed out on the only time Warhammer 40k was in World of Tanks console. It may come back. We will not know how profitable this was for World of Tanks and Warhammer. We'll never be privy to those numbers, but we will only know if it was profitable if, come Christmas time, Warhammer comes back and we all start going, yay, and also, oh crap, is this going to be G.I. Joe all over again? Hey, at least it's not Hot Wheels. This tank it looks great. Okay, it's got style. And if you got skill and a little bit of skill on them and know how to use ATGMs, you will be effective with this tank. The obvious issue, well, besides, there's a flaw, a unique flaw. It's a design flaw. I'll get to that later. Is this really feels like a BMP2, but it's a medium. The main tank, or the main gun, with its 20 round clip, which I know some of the previous video reviews of it didn't tell you what type of rounds it used, because when all the Warhammer 40k tanks came out, they, for whatever licensing reason, had to use Warhammer terminology to describe things, but the Ignis Purgatio fires APDS as standard, APFDS, APFSTS as this premium, and HE as the third round. You're probably not going to want to run HE, which I am for giggles, but with the reload time between clips, it's just pointless to run HE. The thing, and as you can see here, as I'm trying to test out the penetration, which isn't much, it can't even penetrate the mantlet of a T-72, so the main primary gun is not reliable as a sniper. Obviously, as you probably learned, the main tactic is get behind a tank and just go brrr. And that can be effective, but it can also be annoying, especially as at the opening of a match, you're not really going to want to YOLO in unless you're in a wolf pack and go brrr. But again, I can totally understand going full automatic. I'm an American. Going full automatic makes me happy. So, but this is tempered by my missile fetish, which this tank's reload for that is also insanely long. We're talking for reloads for an empty clip and a missile is pretty much 30 seconds, give or take, depending on your loadout is. And that's really weird way to temper this tank. Its armor works at weird angles. It's not overly fast. It's a comparable medium tank speed, about 60 kph. So giving this tank such a long reload for both mains of attack is weird. Now, let's address the flaw. So here I'm going to show you what the flaw is, and you may have missed it because it was pretty quick, but it's a design flaw. It's where sometimes art is put over function. So you can see where the missile pod is. That's the straight arrow. The curved one is the barrel. It's the primary gun. The missile came out of the primary gun like it was on T-72s and T-62M1. But that doesn't work because the missile pod is on the rear of the tank, which I realized was a way, someplace to put it, but not. I wish they put it on the turret because putting it on the rear like that makes it go, that's where the missile comes out of, but it doesn't. So by putting the missile pod on the rear of the tank and at an angle, it doesn't work because if you turn the turret, and you'll see it in some angles, the missile would launch right into the side of this Ignis Purgatio's turret. Why they couldn't have stuck something on to the turret like you would with the BMP-3 and have it a true multi-weapon system? I don't know why they didn't do that. I'm assuming they're trying to be as close to some tank in Warhammer 40K. I don't know. I'm not into Warhammer, so I don't know. And I just find that kind of annoying and a little bit obnoxious. It's like, why would you do that? But then again, I'm caring too much about this tank. But yeah, that's the one design flaw, I guess. Now going back to the primary gun and my method of, as you will see me sniping with it, even though it lacks the penetration, that's sort of a good way at the beginning and midpoint of the match to do some damage. And also, I like to go for assists. And early in the match, you don't necessarily want to be charging with this tank. It's soft. A lot of medium tanks can go through it. Heavy tanks, obviously. It's not a brawler by any means. If you're not coming up from behind on another tank, you could be in a world of hurt. It's not like, it doesn't give me the confidence like the WZ-122. It's something you need to be aware of when you're playing this tank. And it can be fun, but again, with the whole setup of it being a licensed tank, and that's where it hurts it too. So as I was saying, if you have any FOMO about the Ignis Purgatio, and thankfully at this time, with the Cold War mode being out for, 3 years now? I think we're at 3 years. There's plenty of premium tanks and even tech tree tanks that can definitely fulfill the same role as this tank, and you may get them in season passes, giveaways, or just grind them out in the tech tree. This tank you don't really need this in your garage unless you're a collector, unless you're a Cold War fan, or like me, you have a kink for ATGMs, and I do. Some players don't, and if you can't use ATGMs, definitely avoid this tank if it ever comes back. And if it doesn't come back, by all means, delete it from your memory hard drive, forget about it. It's just pointless. Just be like, all right, I know what to do when it's coming at me. That's it. It's one of those things where, hey, I kind of hope maybe next time, if there is a second round with Warhammer, that they find another tank to bring to Cold War. Maybe, I'll be honest, the Tiefbreaker light tank was kind of one of those ones that was like, that'd be nice. I was able to put an ATGM through the viewport of an FE421. Hey, that's not hard to do sometimes, And because if they could bring in a tank that's a little more of an all-arounder and will be much more of a people pleaser and be more appreciative and usable by more players. Although with the prevalency prevalence of medium tanks throughout Arrows 1 and 2 and starting to get into Arrow 3, once you've played almost grind 2 lines of medium tanks in Eastern and Western Alliance, you will have an understanding of how to play medium tanks through most of this game. So, yeah, that's no matter what, you're probably gonna have to learn how to play medium tanks. So you'll eventually have all the skills you need to play a unique tank like the Batshot. Sorry, I mean Ignis Purgatio. Sorry, it's based on a Batshot. Sorry. Without bringing up the fact this is based on a Batshot, it does have me excited for the Cold War French tanks, which should be coming out any week now. Although, because I'm too busy grinding other tank lines, like the Chinese, which is my main grind, I'll be, I'll watch 3 review videos and all I need to know is how to shoot them. So, as with tanks like, as you see, I'm trying to go for assist damage. As you saw with all those FE4 dilemmas in this match, trying to hit the main drive wheel and do damage and track them so I get both damage and assist. But as I brought up earlier, there are other options, and I'm going to give you some of what I think are suitable alternatives to the Ignis Purgatio. They'll become in the form of premium tanks and tech tree tanks, because not everyone wants to spend gold on this game. So the premium's RDFLT. That's a light tank that has a 6-round autoloader, and what that allows you to do is get that familiarity with the reload time, but also because of the buffs, its penetration on its standard rounds are over 300. It is an excellent sniper and in close slaughter tank. It hurts from afar and up close. It is such a great premium light tank that some people may say underappreciated, but it's just one of those things like you gotta try it out. You definitely should have it on your wish list. I've mentioned the WZ-122 before. It is a go-to premium medium tank for those who like AT gems, because you get 8 AT gems with the 4-shot clip, if you will. There's 4 missile pods. Great burst damage. A solid performing primary gun that allows you to both snipe and cause up close follow-up damage. And it has the same silver rate as the Ignis Purgatio at 50%. Now for tech tree, I kind of took a simple route because the Sheridan and the M6A2 use the same gun. So you have HE rounds that are derp-tastic and can just blat tanks for 1,000 damage. And then you have pretty decent ATGMs that are great for garaging tanks. But there's one or more of those, because of how long it takes for those rounds or ATGMs to reload at almost well over 20 seconds. It was more of like, yeah, we'll go over that feel. You have the Sheridan is a larger light tank, so you get that kind of feeling like you can't really hide too much visually, although the concealment is much better than the Ignis Purgatio. But you still get that feel of being stealthy, but at the same time, you can hit hard and have a little bit of armor protection. The M60A2, you're maybe slower and not as maneuverable, but you have that frontal armor, so you have that protection in case you're not as competent and comfortable with missiles and may find yourself staying out a little bit more in the open than you'd like. That's my thoughts. Put in the comments, what would your alternatives to the Ignis Purgatio be? Or if you just don't care about HMs, you're like, alright, so be it. Now that I've got that out of the way. Pretty sure. Yep. Okay, also in the comments, hey, what'd you think of Warhammer 40k? Should they have had a free tank to earn and not just have to earn some discounts? Which, I'll be honest, that was like, oh crap. I have the feeling that World of Tanks console was not necessarily a viable moneymaker for Warhammer. So like, if this is going to be one of, we better make money. We can't be charitable. We don't have that kind of faith in your player base. I don't know who's to blame on that. Maybe it's the content creators not selling this game as well, or maybe it's, World of Tanks console not putting enough time and effort into the game. Hey, man, we're talking about fake tanks here and unrealistic scenarios that make us go, wee. But, alright. So, I'm now going to just shift away from tanks and go into more of a general gamer PSA. I recently, about a week ago, had some intense gaming in another game that requires a lot of hard control gripping, constant movement, and is an intense shooter. Can be intense shooter. And for those of you who are fans of the channel, you're probably guessing, oh, he's talking about Destiny 2, and you're right. I came across a rather tough Tormentor, and I believe it was Piercing the Veil story mission. I'm trying to wrap that up. Yeah, I'm still stuck in the previous season. I have barely done anything in the new season. But yeah, after that, I felt both my wrists hurt, and I had numbing and tingling sensations in my fingers. I.e., I was, in the first warning signs of carpal tunnel. If I kept going like that, I would have had carpal tunnel. So, just to, please, to my fellow gamers, when you've realized, keep an eye on a clock, have a timer, take a break every hour. I know, Nintendo's great about that, Xbox are doing that too. Hey, it's been an hour, maybe you should take a break. Go touch grass, go smoke grass. That's probably a better thing to do anyways, especially if you want to control pain. Unless you're in one of those states that hasn't legalized or in your country that penalizes that sort of consumption of death, then, ibuprofen or some sort of anti-inflammatory over-the-counter legal drug. Which I've become very much a fan of along with ice packs, but yeah. Please be mindful of how hard you're gripping that controller for an hour straight, which I had been, and good God, thank God, PS5 controllers are made with sturdy plastic, so I would have just obliterated my PS5 controller, how hard I was gripping it. And learn to relax, do some stretches, wrist stretches, check some out on YouTube, find some good stretching videos, quick, don't be afraid to walk around, change your position, and maybe also, which as a red blood American male, maybe learn to know when to back off and go do something else besides just whack at the same stump and get nowhere, which ultimately happened equally frustrating. My pain yielded no rewards. Sad. Gamer life. That's how we roll. That's what we do, and we will not stop doing it. So, I'm just saying, please take care of yourself. Because what's the point of playing video games if you cripple yourself to the point where you can't play video games? And, well, although in this day and age with, games as a service, like, hey, there's not a guarantee that your game will be there tomorrow. But try to make believe that it will be there tomorrow. And then enjoy today. And don't hurt yourself. Alright. I'm going to end it there. If you've liked what you saw, like the giant floaty bubble thing said, or like and subscribe. Comment down below what you think of the Ignis Purgatio. Do you have FOMO? And if you got any tips to help take care of your body and keep yourself in fighting fit game shape, leave that in the comments too. I hope to catch you in the next one. Keep your charts on the ground, and I hope the RNG's in your favor. Goodbye.